welcome to the video, and today we are talking about this article, the hot battery startup that could zap Tesla, and more specifically, we are talking about QuantumScape, the developer of an electric vehicle battery that promises more power for less costs. In this series, I go over headlines and articles written by the media and decide if they are accurate or a bit of a stretch. If you are just here for the summary, this is a stretch. This is a stock that IPO'd earlier this year and has experienced a meteoric rise before recently dipping back down again at a market cap of nearly $30 billion, rivaling Ford, at a certain point above actually the market cap of most American car manufacturers. This is a very, very hot company in a very, very hot market. But in my opinion, this is a severely overvalued stock with a lot of potential, but its timeline for completion is very, very long. And there's too many things that could happen between now and 2025, which is roughly when they are expecting to start mass manufacturing this battery. Based on its timeline, there is just too much risk that could happen between now and the planned release of their battery for this to be a good investment or a true challenge to Tesla. Now let's dive into this article and I'll give you my thoughts. One of the wildest plot lines in the great 2020 electric vehicle rally was the late year rise of QuantumScape, a battery startup that has yet to report any revenue. If investors are even close to being right about its roughly $44 billion market value, they may need to worry more about the fortunes of Tesla. And this is a big if. QuantumScape's shares have soared since going public in November. The company revealed promising test results for a limited version of its solid-state battery in early December, but otherwise, the stock's meteoric ascent has been hard to explain. It's hard to explain if you are looking at a company's financials, but it's not hard to explain if you are looking at the current, and I'm going to say it, the bubble we're in. We are in a bubble. If you look at XPeng, NIO, Workhorse, some of these companies are legitimate, but I think a lot of investors definitely have FOMO from missing the Tesla train. So there is a lot of money being pumped into all of these other EV companies in case they are the next Tesla. And in this case, this is just a battery. Albeit it's a battery with a lot of potential, but this is why it has shot up so much. I think it also recently shot up because of rumors of the Apple Car, and people were wondering if maybe this was the battery that Apple Car was going to use. All of this growth is on the acceptance that EV is the future, so people are trying to catch anything related to that space. Back to the article, based in San Jose, California, and backed by Volkswagen and Bill Gates, the company now has a market value greater than Ford. Investors have gotten used to dizzying valuations for electric vehicle startups, positioning themselves as the next Tesla. With QuantumScape, the mania has reached potential suppliers too. Again, this is crazy. I understand the hype for a lot of these car companies, but now we are just reaching parts of the car companies. And remember, a battery is one of the most important parts of a car, but at the end of the day, it is just a part. Solid-state batteries have been seen as a way of breaking through performance limitations associated with today's electric vehicles. Like your smartphone, a Tesla or BMW i3 is powered by a battery with liquid electrolyte that carries lithium ions back and forth between the cathode and anode during charging and discharging. These liquid electrolytes are bulky and liable to overheat. General Motors recalled almost 69,000 Chevrolet Bolts electric vehicles in November after 5 reported fires. What's so special about solid state? And we'll get more into it right here. The promise of solid state is to get rid of the liquid and with it the fire risk. Moreover, lithium metal cells being developed by QuantumScape, among others, combine the lithium component with the anode, further reducing bulk and potentially delivering more power at lower cost. This is also critical. Electric vehicles have long been held back by the relatively high cost of batteries, which make them more expensive than combustion engine equivalents. Other advantages of solid state include rapid charging and longer life expectancy. QuantumScape said in December that itself, so to put this in basic terms, a solid-state lithium-ion battery could give us more power at less cost. Another huge advantage is that it could charge very, very quickly, up to 80% in 15 minutes. Now, the main thing preventing this from being a viable solution right now is the cost. It's still very, very expensive to produce. And another key thing is that Elon Musk is not really a believer in this technology, and he might have been right Because here we have a company that's completely focused on this battery, yet their timeline to completion is 5 years from today. The way Elon wanted to do things was he wanted to make revenue instantly, and that's using existing battery technology. So one of the main issues of investing in this company is that we are assuming that 5 years from now, they will deliver the battery that they are telling us right now. And we also have to assume that if they are going to stay competitive with Tesla, that Tesla's innovation will be slower than QuantumScape's innovation. Elon has been producing and selling cars for years. Each generation of cars has a generation of new batteries. Elon has already begun to solve a lot of the range issues. There's a 400-mile range Tesla that you could buy right now. And when QuantumScape was created, they were promising batteries up to 50% more than the current range capability of modern cars. And that's already becoming less of a non-issue. And even assuming this battery is very, very good, we have to assume that range is one of the most important factors when it comes to somebody wanting to own a car. So even if Volkswagen partners with this company and they have the best batteries, Tesla's satisfaction rating for their cars is over 90%. People love their cars, and it's not necessarily just for their range, and it doesn't seem to bother them that it takes so long to charge. There's a lot of factors when it comes to building a car, and this is just a battery. We'll skip towards the end to get to the key points. From the article, the key point is that Elon is not a believer in this own technology. The key point is that Elon is not a believer in this technology and is actually developing his own solutions to compete with this. I do want to note that one person that does support this company and who also carries a lot of weight is a man called J.B. Straubel. He was actually the co-founder and CTO of Tesla, and he is actually on the board of QuantumScape. Him being on the board of QuantumScape has given it a lot of legitimacy. But there are concerns that because he was given a large equity stake in QuantumScape, maybe he was paid off, and who's to know how much he really believes in this company. At the same time, part of the reason why the stock has been so successful is definitely because of his association with the company. So it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg thing, at least regarding its current stock evaluation. Back to the article, adapting most of today's electric vehicle battery factories to the new technology won't be too disruptive, says Graham Purdy, chief executive of Ilika, a UK-based solid-state company that is working with Jaguar to ensure a smooth transition. But it might be another story for Tesla. This could be a point where the company's batteries, which have been a competitive advantage to date, turn into a competitive disadvantage. This is the part of the article that, sure, it's fun to speculate, but saying sentences like this is very, very misleading. Because, yeah, hypothetically anything could happen. $1 billion could drop onto the sky into my front lawn. Something that has a 1 in 10 million probability of happening could still happen. Whether this is likely to happen, based on what we know right now, it's a big no. And here in the article's defense, it does give the case to why Tesla still has a really big advantage. The article says, Tesla does have time on its side if it needs to change tack. Toyota probably has the most advanced solid-state batteries today. It planned to have them powering prototype vehicles at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which were postponed a year, and is targeting a mass-produced model by 2025. This is how behind one of the previously top automakers in the world is. Assuming that this battery, and that's a big assumption, is better in Tesla, and let's say every single way, it still would not be available by 2025, and it wouldn't be cost competitive by the late 2020s. In that amount of time, Tesla would have sold millions upon millions of cars and generated billions and billions of cash and used that cash to continue developing their batteries, making them cheaper, making them better with every iteration. And the key is that Tesla's batteries are being tested by the hundreds of thousands every year. This is why Elon has been so successful. He doesn't take this much time building prototypes. He has an idea, he executes it, and then he gives it out to the audience. Obviously, there are drawbacks. We see the drawbacks in the wavering quality of his cars. Some things aren't aligned. There are random issues, but he iterates so quickly. He listens to feedback, and he's putting out things with mistakes, but making money with those mistakes and making every subsequent iteration far better than the previous one. Back to the article, QuantumScape's investors are playing a very long game. The business plan doesn't envisage meaningful revenues before 2026. There is also no guarantee that the company's solution will win out over those of Toyota and others. The test results QuantumScape announced last month were for a single-layer battery cells. Private US startup Solid Power is already producing multi-layer solid-state batteries in a factory in Louisville, Colorado. Quote, the manufacturing challenges get exponentially harder as you move to multiple multiple layers, end quote, says Mark Newman, an analyst at brokerage Bernstein who focuses on the battery industry. The valuations of companies like Tesla and QuantumScape require investors to look far into the future and assume mass disruption to the status quo. The wrinkle is that if QuantumScape's plan works out, a big if, thank you for mentioning that, Tesla itself could be one of the companies most disruptive. In 2020, investors bought almost anything related to electric vehicles. This year, they need to become more discerning. If you read the full article, the Wall Street Journal is actually relatively reasonable. You need to be more discerning, and we need to look far into the future. Except the difference is with Tesla, we don't have to look that far in the future. We can look at what's happening right now and seeing the future. With QuantumScape, we have to make many more assumptions. I think solid state does have a lot of advantages, the main one being how fast it charges. Regarding the range, I'm pretty confident that Tesla will be able to match it or also beat it, especially in this long amount of time, but the recharge thing is a genuine huge advantage. The problem is, for me to see QuantumScape succeeding requires far more assumptions than it takes for me to see Tesla succeeding. And at the end of the day, QuantumScape is a pickle and Tesla is the whole happy meal. Batteries are a very important component of the car. A couple of years ago, maybe the most important, but now that's already not the most important part of the car because most people don't need a car that goes 400 miles. Sure, it's nice to have. Sure, a lot of people will only buy a car with 400 miles, but for the majority of people, they need something that is reliable, that's nice, that can commute. And the main key difference that Tesla will always have, at least in the near future, is their FSD capabilities. Their software is the most advanced. Even if you had a battery that only traveled, let's say 100 or 200 miles, if it could drive you by itself anywhere you wanted without you having to pay attention to the road, that car has an advantage over a car that you would still have to drive even if it was 400 or 500 miles. Batteries will continue to improve incrementally with a variety of different solutions, but FSD is really the key to the future and I think winning the market. But let me know what you think. Are you going to invest in QuantumScape, especially after this huge dip recently? 13% in one day. That's all I have. If that was helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out a lot. This is Green Knight Trading, where scribes become knights. I appreciate you and I'll see you soon.